Okay, what's up? This is Jerseys to Crowds. It's a new movement, so look out for some content coming soon.
Yeah, I'm in my own lane. 4-3 reppin', yeah, my gon' bang. It's talking, but they ain't speaking on my name. I'ma make this money, I'm about to free the gang, yeah. On my 0 on the back, these call me Stephen Curry. Gotta make this money, gotta make it in a hurry. Do it for the gang, so my don't have to worry, yeah.
Alright, so today we're gonna introduce Athletic Edge, so Ian and Lance, and we're gonna give an introduction on them and talk about their story and their journey. So, yeah, go ahead and introduce who you are.
So me and Lance, we've known each other for over 20 years. We grew up as snot-nosed kids running around the Northeast, playing dumb games and all that kind of stuff. And then we kind of went our separate ways. We both left Calgary for kind of 10 plus years, and then we both came back to Calgary around the same time, and then we just seen each other out one day, reconnected, and then we just kind of started growing. That's kind of how like the quick talk of it. It's really crazy. It was nothing that was planned. It was just like organic. We seen each other. We're like, hey, what are you up to? What are you up to? And then we just went from there.
And so like talk, kind of like expand on like how you guys first met and like so obviously you guys have the gym here now. Where did like that idea come from? How did it start? Like how did that mentality that you guys both carry yourself with start and like spark, I guess?
Well, it wasn't really like, so first I was kind of weird because we both had like different paths, but they're very similar in the same way because we grew up in like the same neighborhood, same people, kind of same influence, same kind of like identity. And then like we kind of left, kind of had the same kind of like maturing in a different way, where it's like we kind of took like our childhood mindset, our new mindset, and kind of like used it to like, like grow up, mature, get ahead in life. Came back and it was just kind of like there was a lot of commonality with like the path we took, right?
Like the discipline factor for playing university football and the discipline factor for being in the military are very similar.
Yeah.
Like there isn't a huge disconnect between the two. Both of them are team dynamic sports. Both of them are team dynamic career paths. Both of them are team dynamic characteristics. It's just a different playing field.
And the thing I could say too is like, realistically, we both didn't have like traditional upbringing where like we were just athletes getting straight A's, and it was just we kind of both have to go through the same process of like change and like stepping out of our comfort zones because we're like, man, like we both are like young kids getting in trouble, you didn't have a lot of direction, and then having to go into these like super structured environments, like it just forced you to change, forced you to grow, forced you to be uncomfortable. So we had a lot of common similarities because like a lot of times he was like there's certain things in the army I was like I never did this but I had to do this, I never did this but I had to do this, same thing for me, right? And like it was just a lot of change and a lot of like contrast to what we were like kind of raised to do.
Oh yeah, and then like leaving Calgary and coming back, I felt like I didn't know the city anymore. The city had expanded, the population had boomed, there was no club basketball when I left.
Yeah,
and then coming back, it was like this huge club basketball scene, which was awesome to see. There was all this talk about opportunity and exposure, and I thought it was such a good thing, and it was so awesome. But I didn't know anybody really in the basketball world anymore because when I left, I completely cut ties to basketball. It was like I'm a soldier now. And then coming back, it was all this stuff going on. So I reached out to the person that was my high school coach, in Steve Weeb, and he was coaching at Western Canada High School.
So Weeb coached you?
Yeah, Weeb was my high school coach at Crescent Heights.
What? That is crazy. I did not know that. That's
yeah, so then when I came back, I was like, hey Steve, like I want to get back into coaching. Is it okay?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, no worries. This was, I think we talked maybe in like a September, October timeframe. And then within a month we were coaching Western together, and I stayed there for 3 years. We won like Div 2 city championships with Philly. And then the year after is when I decided like I was gonna go to follow Lacombe High School because I gave this message to the guys at Western, and I said like, all due respect, like I love coaching at Western, I have a really good connection with the kids at Western,
Yeah.
and I loved my time there. But what I brought to the table was a little bit less needed at Western than it would be at Lacombe.
Yeah.
Like at Western, it's, you know, and I don't want to make super generalities, but it's like, you know, 2-parent households.
No, yeah, 100%.
You know,
demographic is
demographics different. Middle of the year, they're discussing the kind of like 2 or 3 options for university that they've applied to and things like that. And so my message of like coming from a, you know, a broken home and like work hard and all that stuff, it's not lost on them. It's still a very valuable lesson regardless of demographic.
But it's not as significant.
Yeah, whereas like when I went to Lacombe, you know, it was tough because it's, you know, like kids that really need that message, but they haven't necessarily got it before. So it was just a bigger learning curve. You know, I had to kind of change my approach, and I love coaching at Lacombe with, you know, Ian Couture he's an awesome man. He's so dedicated to those kids.
Right?
Oh yeah, he's so dedicated. He's not necessarily universally loved by his peer group in coaching, but that's because he's misunderstood.
Yeah.
Like he's so dedicated to the kids that I don't care if I make friends.
Yeah.
Right.
And like I don't think people really see like where he's coming, right? Because he saw it from day one, where they're kind of seeing the finished product, right?
Yeah, like he took that team out of, you know, Div 3 getting smacked to Div 1 going to city finals, and then people are like, oh well, they haven't won the big game yet. But there's so many success stories behind the scenes
100%.
that people will never grasp.
Yeah.
Right? There's success stories, and there's been some horrific loss being part of that program.
Yeah.
But in our time that me and Lance have been, you know, we've been doing Athletic Edge and we've been working within the community, you know, we've seen the change, the DNA change.
Yeah.
Like we've seen the you know, the resurgence of, you know, people wanting to work hard, and our message isn't universally loved.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that I think we should expand on and let the people kind of know about you guys. It's like your message is grit, grind, like hardcore shit, right? And so for you, did that come from your military background? For you, did that come from football? Or
Well,
where did
I
that
think
kind of start?
like kind of go back to what Ian said. Like when we were coming through high school, like yeah, like our boys played sports. Like it was a very different dynamic. There was no club. I'm just gonna be honest. Like only really rich kids like played like club sports.
Okay.
We played school sports because it was cheap and it was for the most part like
Accessible.
they would let you play for free. Like for example, in high school, like I cleaned out the equipment room and the gym office, and then they'd let me play for free.
Really?
Right? And like otherwise we'd be outdoors. We'd be on like outdoor courts, outdoor fields. So there wasn't really a lot of direction, right? So I think for me, like one thing, I love sports, right? That was always the thing that got me back on track. Whether I'd like, you know, go do some dumb things with my friends, whether I was like failing in school, whether I was like getting in trouble at home. Sports was always kind of like the thing that recentered me. So I kind of made a decision like, okay, I'm just gonna like ride this sports thing as long as I can. And then I didn't have a ton of guidance. Like no one in my family played sports. I was playing Div 2. I was from the Northeast, right? So like the biggest motivation for me when I was done playing, I almost wanted to show these kids like the opportunity and like the growth you can have in life through sport is incredible if you just like work hard. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna take what I did, which is I didn't do it all right. I wasn't perfect. I'm not saying I know the only way. And I'm just gonna bring it back to like kids in my community, because like it changed who I am. Is like the way I think, the way I act. Like I can get up at 5 a.m. and go to work. It's no big deal, right? Like, you know what I mean? I have certain things like that were put in me from sports, so I want to just like give that back to my community. And that was like the motivation to start it, right? I'm like, you know what, man? Like I got some knowledge. I had a few hurdles, and like I had a few successes, and like I can give that back.
Well, I mean, some knowledge, you played professional football, so like that's pretty crazy. That's insane. Like your guys' paths blow my mind, and so like I don't know, maybe individually you want to talk about like your journey. So
I think for me it was playing sports was like same as Lance. Like it was like my true north. It kept me on the right path. And then when I joined the Army, the reason I was good at the Army was because I was good within a team dynamic. I was able to like really set my goals based on like unit needs, things that we need to accomplish as a collective. And because I was good at sports, I was good at the military. And then when I got out of the military, then I was able to combine the two, and then I was able to kind of have this message that I was able to push. But one thing is like, we're known as like saying like, oh, like just fucking get after it. Like, oh, your ankles hurt, I don't fucking care. Like, fucking do it. Like, you have to do it, so just fucking do it. But the thing is that what our actual message is it's no one else's responsibility. Like, we can say, hey, like, this is the blueprint, this is the direction. But what we're really saying is, you have to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And so it's
you can't do it for them, right? So
no.
And the other thing is too, it's like I don't think a lot of people realize what they're capable of. And I'm not saying like, don't get me wrong, like I never went with, like I wasn't rich, but I never went without. I never like, there's always food on the table, the bills are always paid. But I'm like, if I can do it, you can do it type thing. So when I get kids in here who are kind of like, and everyone's different, right? Everyone handles like stress differently, right? But when I see like kind of these little excuses getting in their way, it's almost me like in a way of being like, I don't give a fuck, just fucking do it. It's me telling them like, you can do this. Stop holding yourself back. Like that's kind of like the foundation of it, right? Because like, I just think a lot of people like they put a lot of limits in their mind, and it's like at the end of the day, like it's you're the one holding yourself back. It's not your coach. It's not that you're tired. It's not that, oh, I got a Charlie horse. It's like, no, like just push through it, man. And like if there's a real problem, because that's the thing, like we have an open door policy, right? We've had kids come here just to talk, right? So this whole narrative that like we don't care and this and that, it's like, no, we just divide it, right? Like if we're here to do this, we're doing this, okay? We're not letting other stuff bleed in. And you know what? When there's a time and place to talk about this, we'll talk about this and we'll find a solution to this. But don't bring all these exterior excuses into like a goal, right? And like, and you can have both, right? Like you can have, okay, I'm working here, but you know what? There's some stuff I got to work on the back end, and that's fine, right? So that's where like, so if you show up to training, you're like, well, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so I don't. I'm like, well, then go sleep then. Like, what are you doing here then? We're here to train. We're not here to like say it's okay. Just go sit off to the side. Like, you know,
today we'll just stretch.
Yeah, we'll just stretch today. Like, you know what? Maybe you go home, you text me later, and I give you some ideas to like build a better sleep schedule. So you're on track. Like that's my mindset. I'm not going to be in the gym with 20 other kids. One kid shows up late saying you're tired and you're sad, and I'm like, okay, we're going to change the whole workout for you. So that's what it might seem like we're insensitive, but to me it's like,
I don't think it's insensitive at all. I think it's just call it how you see it. Right?
So we're in the moment, guys. Like we're like, if you're thinking about the future, anxiety. You're thinking about the past, depression. I don't care about any of that. What's happening right now? Right? Like I'm not gonna feed into I'm not gonna feed into your fears and your shortcomings and like re-encourage those thoughts in your mind. Because that's not how you overcome them. Everyone has anxiety, everyone has like ups and downs in their mental state, everyone has like emotions. However, the best way to counteract that stuff is to be in the moment and to take the step that you need to take today. Like take the step that you need to take right now.
And why are you thinking about the future when you gotta conquer something in the present?
Because if you don't conquer what's happening right now, the future doesn't matter. Like that decision, it's gonna pass you because you haven't put the work in.
So something for me that I just think that you guys should expand on is that like, how'd you get this knowledge? What sport, like what lessons in sports did spark this crazy mentality that's really like important for everyone to know? Because like I don't know, I'm playing sports and every day I sit with you guys, I learn more, I get better.
Well, I think the biggest thing for me, and like this could be a little bit like ignorant, but I just look and see like how much like mentoring, how much like financial support, how much outlets all these kids have. And I think back to like, okay, I finished high school, there was like nobody really telling me where to go. I was like, hey, you know what? I love football, I want to keep playing. So I went, I played for the Calgary Colts. They were the worst team in the country at the time. I was like 150 pounds, right? Didn't really know anything much about football. I just started playing football in grade 11. Right?
That's
so like,
fucking crazy.
So I went out, played, ran around, got our shit kicked every game, like 50 piece every game. My friends were like, you're whack, like why are you playing this? you know what? And then I literally started calling around. I'm like, man, I gotta get bigger, right? So I found a training company, went, worked out every day, right? Slowly gained weight, whatever. Like my grades were still shit, right? And eventually people are like, hey man, you wanna take this further? You gotta upgrade, right? So on my own, I went, looked Mount Royal up, Chinook Learning, St. Anne's, all this stuff. Like went and upgraded, like paid out of my own pocket for stuff. Yeah, my mom helped me with some stuff too, right? I had to sit in class with other kids who obviously didn't handle business, just trying to graduate, right? At St. Anne's, upgrading courses, Mount Royal, upgrading courses. Like this isn't the glamorous route at all. Like, right? I played Div 2 football, was never ranked, never went on a trip to like Vegas, never went.
But you played football at UBC at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, like I got to that point, but it was like there was a lot of things that I had to do in place to get there, right? Like I graduated high school with all -2 courses, right? And at the time, UBC only accepted -1, right? So I had to literally redo high school, right?
And that's, to be honest, that's why our message is the way it is. It's because we went through it, and it's not. It's the norm, not the exception. Like how many guys do you know that graduate or like are finished high school, might not have graduated or might not have the classes they need to get into the programs that are, might be recruiting them. And it's and then they're like, oh well, I guess it's not for me. Right? And it's like fucking tie your boots up, pull your socks up, and like just do it.
So like, would it be the adversity that you guys would say that like taught you the most?
I think so, man. Like even when I went to university, it was like, man, I'm out of school with kids driving Ferraris, and I'm like eating rice and butter, like 7 days a week, waiting for my student loan to come in, right?
When I was in New Vegas, people were showing up with like BMW i8s, and I'm like,
man,
what the fuck is going on here? No.
Oh, but and then once I was like done playing, I look back and I'm so happy I went through all that. Like to me, it was like a blessing to go through all of that stuff, right? Like.
Well, so that's kind of the whole point of this is like we're trying to like encourage people to go through those adversities because from that adversity breeds the success that you want in life. If you learn those characteristics and those skills in university when you're supposed to learn them, then when you're in your early 20s, your 30s, like you're crushing it, whatever it is you're doing, whether that's like you want to be an entrepreneur, whether you want to be a pro athlete, whether you want to, work at a company, like you're going to be able to deal with adversity, find the people that you need to work with, and better your situation.
Yeah, like I think it's beautiful. Like what you guys kind of like talk about is like the simplicity of just do the work, get it done.
Just go through
even
it.
if your path is complicated. Like you were just saying, you took all these classes, your path went up and down. You had Colts, then you played at UBC. Like this path is crazy. Your path, military, and I think we've talked about it before, just personally. But like you've moved a lot too, right? You've moved a lot of times.
Oh yeah. So when I first joined the Army, I went out to Ontario to do training. I was there for like 10 months. Then it was from there, I went to Edmonton, was there for a while. Like my now wife moved to Edmonton with me. And I think in my 12-year military career, I spent 8 years not in my own house.
Wow.
Like I was
fucking crazy.
I was either on a course, on exercise, deployed overseas. It was madness. And then my son was born, and I was kind of in this weird point in my career where I'd accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish, and the decision to stay in or get out was based on one, chasing a pension, or two, chasing a rank. Neither of those things I found to be very appealing, and I felt it to be extremely selfish to stay in the military and to move around all the time, where my son would not be able to be around his grandparents, his cousins, all that kind of stuff that are based in Calgary. Like Calgary has a real strong roots for my wife. So I could be anywhere. I could do anything. Like if I was single, I'd still be in the military, kicking in doors or whatever. But because I have this connection and this partnership with someone, and we have children, and in order for my kids to have like a solid upbringing, I wanted to come back home to Calgary. And so in dealing with adversity in the military, it was like, it's so often. There's never, like you go away on exercise, like you're fighting with your girlfriend because you're away.
What's that mean on exercise?
So exercise is like
you go for a run or like...
no. Exercise is like it's training to go and do something. So
Okay.
like when I went to Afghanistan, we went and we did an exercise in Suffield, Alberta. So you go there and you're there for 6 months, and you're just it's basically like they have like villages set up, and they have
It's like...
enemy force, and they have
shit.
and so you're doing all of the kind of day-to-day tasks that you're going to do in Afghanistan. You're doing it there in a training environment.
It's like a training camp.
Training, yeah. So it's training camp, but it's like it's not like university training camp where it's like 2 weeks where you're like showing up and high-fiving each other. Like it's like you're
in the
yeah,
shit.
like
yeah.
and especially like on we would be on exercise. You know, I sleep. You know, if you got 4 hours of sleep a night, like that was big sleep.
And that's so you did that for 6 months.
Yeah, you do it for like 6 months, and you'd be doing like certain parts of it.
That's crazy.
And not only are you doing it for when you are going to deploy, but you're also going when other people from your unit are deploying, because you go in support of them.
Okay.
So they're preparing to go, so you go and you support them and help their training so that they have the best advantage when they deploy overseas. And so yeah, like I was always gone. And so you're fighting with your girlfriend because you're not home. Then when you're home, you're fighting because you know that you're leaving in 2 weeks. And so it becomes this like crazy thing. So that was one part. And then in the military, like the opposition isn't like just trying to score a bucket on you, right? Right? Like it's real life or death, like high consequence. And so yeah, like I was injured multiple times, deployed, kind of like I've been around the world multiple times, and I've seen life through like a very different lens. Growing up in Calgary, I seen like minimal violence, right? Like I seen, somebody get stabbed or baseball bats or friends get shot or whatever. But like in the army, it's like the most extreme version of poverty, most extreme version of oppression, most extreme versions of violence, like horrific violence.
And like different type of people too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like huge language barrier, cultural differences. Like you're there and you're seen as like this occupying force. When like, especially like for me in Afghanistan, what I take away from it is like when I was there, I know Afghanistan's like this huge hot topic right now, but like when I was there, I seen little girls go to school for the first time. I seen farmers have the best crop years that they've ever had. And if nothing else, in 20 years, they were able to like live a semi-happy, productive life. And now that it's gone backwards, it's hard to see.
Yeah.
But again, it's like the man in the arena quote. It's like, if you're sitting on the sidelines, you have no right to say if this is a success or a loss.
Yeah, it's like an armchair critic.
The success in my time in the military in Afghanistan was that the things that I witnessed. And if sitting on the sideline talking about political, goals and things like that, they have nothing to do with what really happened. Soldiers are not political creatures. They're there to protect the person beside them.
Yeah.
And so there's like so much adversity, right? And then getting out of the army and coming back here, like just being in the grocery store is like fucking laughable. Like I go down the cereal aisle, there's so many different types. Like anyone can have, like, they can choose the path they want to live, they can choose the food they want to eat, they can choose, like, they have so much opportunity, and they take it for granted. They talk about oppression and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, if you can talk about oppression, you're not oppressed. You have no idea.
And like an average person in the grocery store is upset they couldn't find their gluten-free fucking bread. And you're like, you don't even understand.
Yeah, losing it on like a 15-year-old like baggage clerk. Why is this in the wrong spot?
So like my view of like things are definitely changed, and they will forever be changed. And so when I hear people like, oh, this happened last night, like, I didn't get to watch the sitcom I normally watch, so my whole night was thrown off.
My Friends episode wasn't loading.
And I was like, like, well, what the fuck does that have to do with right now?
Yeah.
Like, let's go right now. Like, right now, let's go. And so it's just.
And it's not like, I don't know, like, it might come across as arrogance, but it's like, number one, you gotta remember it's authentic. Like, we're just being ourselves.
Yeah, facts.
Right? And like, number two, I just feel like there's a lot of people that have 10 times the potential I have, 10 times the potential Ian has, and like they're holding themselves back.
And
It's
so
like,
much support.
and so yeah, it's like, man, like do you realize what you could do? And they're allowing like this like societal, like almost like, okay, no, you have to be this, you have to be that.
You gotta be sad.
You have to be like sad about stuff. You have to like if something bad happens, like it has to tear you down for 2 days. It's like no, like be you, kick the door down, take what you want, right? Pull people up with you along the way, right? If adversity comes, deal with it, crush it, grow from it, and move on, right? It doesn't matter. And like we say, like athletics is just a platform. Like we're talking about in life, right? So maybe our message is a little more rough and rugged. But it's because like we see, like I can, like man, every kid I train, I can see where they can be, and yes, some of them get there and surpass it. But the ones that aren't, like, it's almost like I'm frustrated, right? And like they may think like, oh, Lance is hard on me, he doesn't know what I'm going, this, that. But it's like, man, I can see where you can be, right? And we're almost saying like, if me and Ian could like live the lives we wanted to live without having to follow any norms, rules, or accept the cards we were dealt, like. Man, you guys have all aces, and you're like,
folding.
I don't know how I'm gonna get through tomorrow. Like, and I'm just like, what, man? Like, let's go. Like,
but then, from your perspective of like someone that's trained with us, like, what is the narrative of us? Like, what do people think of us?
So like usually what I like explain is that when you get here, you're gonna work regardless. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter if you know. There's people that I've brought here that are like. Yeah, like my hamstring, I'm only gonna do certain things, and you're like, no, you're gonna do it all, and you're gonna get it fucking done. And so the narrative is kind of like that, like head down, grit, fucking work. And I always like to like almost like give them a understanding of what it is in here. I'll be like, yeah, Ian was in the military, and Lance was a pro football player, so like it's gonna be fucking hard work, right? And like that's kind of like the narrative is just like.
Because I know we kind of have like a stigma, like there's no direction and we're just here like
Shark Tank.
Yeah, but they don't realize like Dean, the owner of this gym, is literally the longest standing CrossFit style gym in Calgary.
Yeah.
Every other gym is open, close. Dean's like a national coach. Like at the end of the day, like I played football at the highest level. I played with guys who are in the NFL, won Super Bowls, coaches that are like in the NFL Hall of Fame. I've trained with like high level trainers. Like there's definitely a method to the madness, but one thing I've learned in sports, you can be the most hydrated, have the best trainers, the best cleats, best gloves, but there's a point where like heart and mentality take you to the next level.
Yeah, so
right?
Like I kind of think like that's something that kind of goes unnoticed is that like you guys aren't just trainers. Like you're changing, like you've changed my life, you know, you've changed Mark Martin's life, you've changed a lot of people's lives, and it's because like it's more than just fitness, you know. It's not that. It's the mentality that you guys are talking about. That like, if
for sure. And people see us as like we've heard it where they're like, oh, they're just like making guys work really hard and throw up just for a rep on Instagram or some shit like that. But they don't realize that like even the way we program.
Shut the fuck up.
But the way we program a daily workout or a monthly workout or a 12-week training program. There's like a method to the madness. Like there's, and I'm biased for sure, but I don't think there's anybody out there that balances mobility, motion, body control, technique, form development, athletic movement, and sports specific. With, okay, we're gonna fucking get after it. Like it's the recipe that we put it together because we hear from coaches all the time or trainers all the time, like, oh, like their shin angle's off on this squat. And I'm like, listen, if I'm a basketball coach and we're teaching and we have a practice, I'm not stopping everyone every shot and working on their form because nobody's gonna get better. So I might
you gotta work through it.
Yeah, like I'll tweak along the way. Same thing we do with squats and bench and like, basic lifting movement. Nothing we do is like we invented this form of bench press or squat. Like we do very basic movement.
We're not going home and like editing the video. We're like, man, this is who we are. You know what? We're not perfect, right? I didn't invent the squat. You didn't invent the bench press. There's always room for improvement everywhere. This is what we have. Take it or leave it, right? And like it is what it is. I'm not the trainer who's gonna have like a slow mo with like pinpoint dots showing like the exact and like this is what you got to do and like okay, like you know what, if that's your vibe, cool. That's not my vibe, right? I'm more organic. Like I allow kids to work through it. You adjust with weight, you adjust with like modifying the movement a bit, but I'm not going to be standing there on one knee like watching a 15-year-old kid who's never squatted in his life and being like, no, that's wrong. Like, no, you
Do
gotta,
it again.
Yeah, you gotta do it exactly like this.
Get a wooden bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's like
Yeah,
we just like slow, like we, first of all, we like indoctrinate them into the culture and the lifestyle of the way we train. And then we make precise decisions and like corrections along the way. And the other thing is you gotta know the balance between Lance and I. Like I explain it as like Lance is he's like a finishing hammer. He does like precise development. Like he will make anyone an extremely explosive athlete. And then I'm like a sledgehammer. I just come and I fuck your life up.
So wait. So who's good cop and who's bad cop?
There is no.
I think there's like a perfect
Two bad
balance.
cops?
And what people understand too, it's like the kids that are on the ground puking blacked out, like they've done that to themselves.
And that's a fucking badge of honor.
Yeah,
it's a
man.
badge of honor.
Like they've literally gone to the point where like they're like, I want to push myself this hard. Like we don't go like, okay, guys, today's a puke day. Like if we don't puke, like man, sometimes like me and Ian will be a parent in here talking to us, and like we're not even paying attention, and like there's kids that have been training us for years, know the standard, training by themselves over there, and like and a parent will stop and be like, hey guys, I just gotta point this out, like. These kids are getting after it, man. Like, how do you guys do this? We're like, well, man, like we just have a culture here.
Yeah, it is.
You come here and you just go to work.
It's weird. I've never actually like I've been so tired here that I've felt like I'm drunk. I've sat at that water cooler and been like, I need water because like I'm out of it. I haven't been able to drive home for 30 minutes after a workout. Like it's because like I know when I come here. I'm not here for a walk in the park, right? Like I'm not gonna go to the gym. I'm not gonna come here and hit arms, you know?
The hardest thing is walking in the door, for sure. Like just making the commitment to get here.
100%.
But yeah, man. Like, and that's the thing is like we're not like, okay, today's the day that you're gonna puke and we're gonna film it and we're gonna just like really go.
Okay, guys, make sure like
it's every day.
But a blackout, like being able to black yourself out and be laying on the ground, done in, that takes months of developing your mental state to be able to push your body past its own limits, and it takes months of physical development because most young athletes, they're not even strong enough to do that. They might get tired and they'll be like, oh, they'll mentally just like be like, oh, this is tired, but like they're not strong enough, physically strong enough to push themselves.
well, even willing to be vulnerable, right?
Oh,
like
that's
a lot of people that come in
the
here.
thing that's crazy is like once you've done it, once you've been here, like I hold this mentality that you guys have like instilled in me from 4 years ago, right? Like 5 years ago. Like, I fuck up the years of when we've met every time. But like, I mean, like I know what it takes because I've been here and it's like changed for me. Like, I know at the beginning of every summer if I'm gonna come here, first workout, that's gonna be the, like, I'm probably gonna puke. In my head,
your fucking soul.
I'm just like, I'm like, we're probably gonna hit the sled. It's the first sled of every summer that I'm like, might puke. Like, and it's every summer I'm like, hold it back, hold it back, hold it back. But like, I want to get there. Like, I want to do that because.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, it's the guys that come and they put in the work. They like fiend for it. They're like, fuck, I want to get better. I want the smoke. I want to go. And then it's the people on the outside looking in where they see this like final product of this like fucking animal. Like Moreau's an animal right now. They see this final product and they're like, well, I'm not that, so I can't even walk in the door.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
No.
Like Moreau, he was like a fucking balloon when we first met him. Like he was a body, but not strong.
People don't realize like
even Mark, like he's dropped like 20 pounds this summer and he's just fucking looking great. And it's
well, man, we've trained like kids that like literally got cut 3 years in a row from their basketball team. We train kids with like physical disabilities. Like I've trained like a 6-year-old woman that had like osteoarthritis. She had like a ruptured disc in her back, and she was like couldn't even lift a coffee cup if it was full. And she's back like playing rec sports, all this stuff, right? So it's like, and like you know what? Maybe we gotta do a better job with marketing that. But it's just like not only in our personality to be like, look what we do, right? Like
self-promotion.
Yeah, you gotta do a little bit, right? But so a lot of people, and I tell them all the time, like just start where you start and build.
Yeah.
Like not everyone's gonna be Moreau, not everyone's gonna be you or like an Aiden or like but get to your peak, right? Like that kid Patrick, right?
Oh yeah.
Got cut all 3 years from his high school team, came here at 200 pounds.
Facts. Yeah,
And he was like, what, 5'6", 210?
Yeah.
And he left here at like,
He
what?
lost like 80 pounds.
Yeah.
I think the beautiful thing
Left
is
home, went to university.
Yeah.
He
His
was like,
parents were taking him to the hospital because they thought like something was wrong.
Yeah.
He lost so much weight so quickly.
what? That's
His
crazy.
parents are like, he must be sick. They were like taking him to the hospital.
he was like afraid of his own shadow. He has a girlfriend now. He's at U of L.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it's not about like, oh, I gotta be this Adonis to walk in the door, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like you have players like him, or you have players like Moreau or Aiden, like people that are like top of the top, and then there's people that are like they're just starting or just on their path, but the script like stays the same.
Yeah, the script.
But you were here during the first phases where we had to do like a balance, like we had to do like a big flush of our culture too, though.
Yeah.
Because when we were first like rolling doing programming, we'd be like, okay, we're gonna start a new program next Monday. Anyone who wants to come, show up, and there'd be like 80 kids here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next week there'd be
After
like
like 2
20.
weeks, there'd be like, yeah.
Well, and you had like the Pearson kind of like connection too, right? So like that was coming here as well. So it's like a whole that you've got like people in here to grind, and then you've got like a gym class in here. So it's like, is it hard to keep that?
No, it's just us.
Yeah.
Like it's not something that we have to. Like it's not something that we have to bring out of ourselves. It's just who we are.
And you put the gym class through the same workouts?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. It's a lot funnier. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, me and Dino sit here and die laughing. like this is sports performance, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like not above gym, right? And even the teachers come in and they're like, man, like these kids, right? The warm-up's done, half the class in the bathroom throwing up. And I'm just like, isn't this sports pro? Like, when I was in sports pro, we were like getting after it. But we're like, you know what? Like, this is our standard. Like, and I tell them before, I'm like, you guys are in sports performance. This isn't a free grade. Kids show up in jeans with their headphones in, and I'm like, no, I'm not buying into this. Like,
This
oh,
isn't
we
a spare.
do what we want. Like, no, I'm like, hey, sports pro to me is like you guys are athletes with goals, trying to be above the average gym class. So this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And honestly, when we explain that to the teacher, like, no, I agree with you guys. You've never had a complaint from a teacher. This one teacher said he had from St. Francis. He had to pull over every 10 minutes so kids could get off the bus and throw up.
Man, my favorite story of all time is Philly.
Yeah, no,
So Philly came and did the workout. I get home. Lance calls me. He's like, "Yo, Philly's still at the gym." This is 45 minutes later. I left the gym. I went home. I was like watching like a show with my wife. Lance is like, "Yo, Philly's still in the parking lot." I was like, "What do you mean he's still in the parking lot?" So I call Philly. I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "My legs won't work to press the brake to get it to go into drive." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I think I'm gonna call an ambulance because my legs don't work."
I've fucking left here driving home, like driving down Deerfoot, and been like, should be considered driving under the influence. This is not safe. Like, I'm fucking lightheaded, my fucking calves are shaking, I can't even, like, it's hard to push the gas. Like, it's actually, no, it's crazy.
Fucking love it. But then again, like that was the summer that Philly was like, "Yo, I'm gonna take this serious," because the coach was like saying, don't even come to tryouts. Like,
Walk on,
yeah, like I don't even want you as a walk on. And then he went from walk on to like the man in 4 months. Like
Still is too.
yeah, and like there's 25-foot posters of him in the arena and shit.
Yeah.
Like, and like, and Philly was, private school kid, very nice, good
Soccer
family.
guy too.
Yeah, played soccer, and then he was just like, you know what? But I coached him in high school, so he knew the vibe, he knew like what we were about. He was like, I want to get over that edge, and I was like, cool, like let's go. And he
and the process matched the goal. That's part of it. So if a kid comes in here and we're looking at their starting point, they're like, I want to play university basketball, and I'm looking at you as like a backup on a mid-level high school team.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, okay, I believe in you, but this is the blueprint.
Yeah, like,
you
right?
have to do
This
all
is
of
what
these
you have to do. And if they're like, no, and then we come across as being like, oh, we're not listening to them, or like, it's
we hate
too
on their
much,
dreams.
or it's like, no, I believe in you. So based on my experience, this is the blueprint I'm giving you to get to where you need to be.
And it doesn't matter who walks in the door.
Yeah, like if a kid comes, I've had kids come here honestly be like, look, I just want to make my high school team, play high school ball, and go traveling with my friends. Okay.
We've seen some kids in here that like I've seen some kids that are like, yeah, no, like I'm gonna go high major D1.
Exactly. I'm like,
And
cool.
you're like,
this is the
you're like,
blueprint.
hey, this is gonna be a lot, but like,
Let's go. Let's put the pedal down. And then 2 weeks in, they're like, no, but like, I gotta babysit. No, I gotta work.
Or I've seen
Yeah.
you like fucking kill some people for skipping like a rep or a set.
Yeah.
And you're like, you ran the entire compound and they're like cutting the corners.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's bullshit. You know,
Bullshit.
Yeah. That accountability is like insane.
Yeah, and I just feel like it's just being realistic. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell a kid who's like an average high school player that says they want to play D1. I'm not gonna hate on it, but I'm like, okay, this is what you have to do based on what my knowledge is, right?
Yeah.
And like, I even had an athlete come to me, a track athlete, and say, I want to make the Olympics.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm not gonna lie. In my head right away, I'm like, you will never make the Olympics. But I'm like, okay, this is the blueprint. So I'm like, in my mind, even if she doesn't make it, she's gonna dominate at whatever level, right? And then literally like 4 or 5 months in, all of a sudden I'm like pushing too hard and like, I don't understand what they're going through and this and this and that. And I'm like, I have friends that have gone to the Olympics.
Yeah.
That I've gone to school with. I've seen what they went through and
yeah.
what they did. And I was just like, okay, copy and paste. No, but I don't know what I'm doing. I don't understand what they're going through. I don't know this, I don't know that. I'm like, okay, so maybe like I gotta take a step back, right?
Yeah.
And
But the
it's just-
difference is like we don't base anything we do off motivations. We base what we do off discipline. So like someone could be like, I have this goal, and they're motivated when they talk about that goal.
Yeah.
Motivation only lasts so long, and then discipline needs to take over. So
Exactly.
we're all about like, okay, have the discipline of the routine, master the routine, and that's what's gonna see you through. Whereas if you're like, oh, I'm motivated to do this, like someone's scrolling through Instagram, they're like, oh, that looks cool, I'm gonna do that, and then that'll last a week.
Yeah.
And they might even not even last until the next morning, and then they're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So like we're about like, okay, if that's the goal, we're like maniacal focus on that goal until we reach it, or
simple.
Well, anything
comes up
anything's
short and
possible
then
if you fucking do the work, right? So
Yeah.
oh yeah.
yeah.
And to me, it's like a very simple process, but like I think there's so many things like diluting it that like maybe we're coming across as like fanatical or like there's something wrong with us. But I'm like, and goals do change. That's fine. You can come to me later and be, hey, you know what? Maybe this isn't for me. This is my goal. Cool.
Yeah, maybe I'm not going D1. I'm staying in.
Yeah, but like if you
But it doesn't
sit
change
down
the work.
Yeah,
It's the
exactly.
same
It doesn't change the work.
Yeah.
No, fuck no. It doesn't change the work. Like D1, D2, JUCO, U Sport, ACAC, doesn't matter.
Yeah, man.
Any of those levels, you still gotta work.
Yeah.
And not only do you have to work, but what we see so often is like the first hurdle in someone's life, they're just done. They're like, I'm done. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And it's like what do you mean? Like you just missed your bus today.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm done. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
fuck, shut up.
And so like that's so like, I don't know if we're gonna go full circle. So your guys' path, like growing up, playing sports, being in the military, whatever, has instilled these lessons to you, and you're just here passing it on, like writing the script for the rest of the people, right? So
Isn't that what a culture and a tradition of a community does?
yeah.
Like a dad learns something, passes it on to his son.
Yeah.
We see ourselves as like kids of the Northeast, and we're just trying to pass it on to our little brothers,
Yeah.
right? Our little brothers and our little sisters. Like we're just trying to like further, right? Like we're not trying to like be like, oh, I did it, you should figure it out.
Yeah. Like just helping.
Yeah, it's just like,
the person.
and like obviously there's like a passion to it, and like otherwise you wouldn't do it and stuff like that. And there's like, it's more than just a surface to us, but yeah, essentially it's just like, man, I see myself in like all these young athletes, all these young kids. It's like, man, like just go get it, right? Like we see this like epidemic of like mental health and like a lot of kids struggling with younger age struggling with stuff, right? And I'm just like, your life is in your hands. Just go get it, right? It doesn't matter what this person says, that person says. Just go be yourself, do what you love, and go after it, right? It's not going to be easy,
So,
right?
like something that just like kind of blows me away is like how, like why you guys, like you're so generous, you're so caring. So like what is it that is it just making city of Calgary better? Is it making the world better? Like, you're just bigger. Is it just bigger than yourself? Like it's crazy because there's a lot of trainers that are just like, give me my fucking paycheck, I'll put you on the treadmill and you're good, you know? And then like it's
well,
not
a lot of trainers, when they train people, it's like you're literally paying for like a seminar. It's like you're in there with them for an hour, it costs $80, and it's like you spend the hour, you leave, you didn't sweat, but they're teaching you every like, well, this muscle attaches to this and this and this, and then you're shinning. It's like they're just trying to like prove how smart they are instead of being like, okay, if this is your goal, then here. Like, we're long term. And you see it too, because we started training you years ago, and our relationship has grown and blossomed over time. Fofo started training him a long time ago. Our relationships have blossomed and changed. And so it's not about this like, oh, you're my client and I'm just like trying to get money.
Actually, I never thought of it like that, because honestly, every client I get in here, I always have a long-term view with them. Like, that's why, like, I've never really ran weekend camps or done like workshops and like, and I'm not saying like there's no value in that. Like, there's like, you can get a lot out of that, but I'm always looking. I just don't think I can give you enough in 2 days. Like, I'm always like minimum 6 months. Like, I think to get like.
Well, in 2 days, we're like off-putting to people. Like, we're not necessarily the most palatable trainers.
One day, you're sore the next day.
I think, because that's the thing. I think for you to get like our method, you got to be around us for 6 months to a year. Right. So that's why, like, I've had parents beg me to run camps, this, and it's just not like, it's not, number one, I don't think it's like, I'm not like good at that type of stuff. Like, that's not even my like niche. Like, weekend camp, some people crush it, you know, they make good money, they get great value. I just don't think I can
market. Like, you open up a new market with camps.
Like, I just don't think that's me. Like, I can't really give you enough in like 4 hours over a weekend. Like, that's just me being honest with who I am. So like you said, like, we always have like a long-term view with everyone that walks in the door. I'm already thinking about where they could be. Like, just 5-minute conversation, my mind's already like, okay, I can get this going, that going, I might know that person. Like, Ian's already like, okay, I know this guy, boom, on the phone with Neil. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, like there's
changing lives. Like,
there's aspects of what we do that are like way beyond sport specific. Like, the amount of kids that we've helped get to university and get scholarship money or the right fit. Like, there's a lot of people that we've helped. Like, I've had guys be like, the only reason I graduated high school is because, you know, your aunt was the assistant principal at the school, and she motivated me to stay active because you talked with her at Thanksgiving dinner about me, like stuff like that. Like, and it's not like, oh, like, we're the best, like all this kind of stuff, but we just care. We care, and like we're gonna push. And it's like that saying of like, oh, I want to be the person that I wanted when I was that age. Right? Like, I want to be the motivator that I needed when I was at my lowest or I was unmotivated. And then the other part of it is that, speaking for myself, like going to the military, deploying, doing all those things, coming back, like a lot of people know, I came back with post-traumatic stress disorder, and a big way that I help myself is by helping others. Right? Because I help others, then it gives me, I have self-confidence, I have something to like dedicate myself to. It's not this like empty, like this empty isolation where I'm just like at home thinking about stuff that I had done. It's like so much more to that. And then I build like these relationships, then I'm part of a community. Like, if it wasn't for meeting Lance and having this, like, I'm not feeling like, oh, I'd be sad at home. No, like, I'd be doing something else. However, this is something that I'm very passionate about, and I'm able to help out a lot of people with. And it rubs people the wrong way, and I love it.
You guys keep saying that, like, I don't think it rubs, like, there's definitely people that, like, it rubs the wrong way, but I mean, like, I was almost like...
No, but, like, the powers that be, right? Like, those, like...
We're shaking the card.
But
honestly, like, so Ian's perspective is why he does it, my perspective why I do it, for the most part, is, like, I've never really been, like, a materialistic guy. I've never really, like, you know, needed to be like in the forefront, like, you know what I mean? So for me, it's like, I wanted to find something where it didn't really feel like work, but like, I can go home and like feel fulfilled still and like have a purpose. Because a lot of people like let's just be honest, like in first world countries,
Yeah.
90% of your motivation is like you want a good paying job, so you can have a nice house, car, go on vacation. I'm not saying I don't like those things, but that's never been like my primary focus, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as I was done playing football, right, like I just kind of thought like what brings me the most like fulfillment and like gets me out of bed every day, and like it's definitely not money. So I'm like, okay, so I did this for 1 year, it was going good, then 2, then 3, then 4, and I'm realizing like this is what's fulfilling me, this is what's motivating me, this is what is like stimulating my mind to grow and educate myself and keep going. So that's why I do it, right? So
it's like at Christmas time, like giving a gift is sometimes better than getting a gift.
yeah, exactly. That's kind of what keeps me going, right? So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And like I love being part of the DNA of like the, you know, sport culture in Calgary. I love what we've been able to accomplish. I think that we're kind of just getting started. There's athletes that like if we had the connections that we have now 5 years ago,
We could have helped them.
yeah, there could have been some lives saved.
Yeah.
Like and like lives saved, not like, oh, this person's just doing this day job, but like still walking the earth.
No,
like legitimately, like no, like their lives saved, man. Like they would still be here, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how deep it is for us, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like so that's kind of the motivation, you know, behind Athletic Edge. Like yes, it's sports based, high performance. I put a lot of time into staying current with like techniques, all that stuff, and like where sports is going on like the business side, the performance side, the professional side. Don't get me wrong, like I'm not just at home watching highlights of like Kobe. Like, hey, like
this is gonna.
I love sports.
Just as like a good example of like how much Lance shies away from like the self-promotion stuff. So we got an email. Yeah, we got an email that he had been nominated to be one of Calgary's 40 under 40. And I talked to him and he's like, yeah, I just let the deadline pass. I don't want that shit.
Just because.
well, it's just not me. Like I don't know. It's
I was
just
like, yo, what the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Like that's good marketing. Like that's good for our brand. That's good for. And Lance is like, nah, I don't know.
and I'm getting better. Like I'm getting better. Like I don't know if this is how I was raised. Like for example, when we were kids, like my mom made us like we had to go to homeless shelters and volunteer. I wore clothes from Value Village. I wore clothes from Zellers. It wasn't like my mom couldn't afford new clothes. We didn't have cable till high school, and my mom told me after she could afford cable, but she wanted to keep us humble.
Wow.
She's like, yeah, I didn't want you kids to think like everything just came as
But like,
about you.
Lance's mom's a terrorist. I love you. I'm sorry. Please don't beat me. But his mom is a straight up terrorist.
Like she like it's crazy because kind of like she raised us to like look everyone in the eye, don't back down from anyone, be confident.
Yeah.
Like you're the man, but like you don't need to tell everyone. As long as you know it, that's good enough. No one else needs to know. As long as you look in the mirror and be like, I'm the fucking man. That's all I want.
Yeah.
You don't need to advertise it to anyone. You don't need to like.
That's sick.
Yeah, like
That gets me high.
my mom used to like hype us up. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna let these kids. Man, I remember in high school, I was running. This is gonna sound bad, but and I kind of started slowing down, and this kid tackled me from behind. We're driving home, and mom's like, "What kind? Like, you're lucky I ain't even driving you. You're letting these white boys catch you from behind, get into the end and giving up. What is that? Like, and I'm just like, damn. Like, okay, I won't do it again.
That's amazing.
Lance's mom's a killer. And it's funny, like when Lance hurt his knee and we were at the hospital, like man, his mom like brought in the prayer warriors. His mom's part of this group, the prayer warriors.
Yeah, okay.
And like
My mom's the next level like Christian evangelist. By the
Church.
way.
Yeah.
so like if something pops off in the city, you hit the Batman phone, all of Lance's mom, and then she'll go with like 4 or 5 other church ladies and they'll pray on you.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! I need some of
Yeah,
that.
she showed up to the hospital with her friend, Sister Mary is her name.
Yeah.
And they had to pray. My mom prayed for the whole unit.
Yeah.
Really?
Because like this nurse came in and she's like, someone down the hall, they had a knee replacement, their walker broke, they fell, it was really bad. There's blood everywhere. My mom's like mid-prayer, like, and pray for the lady down the street who mashed, down the hall who mashed up her leg. And I told Ian, that was like a short prayer, and it was like 20 minutes.
That's sick. I love that.
Yeah, so that's kind of like, that's where I get it, like, you know, like, you can be a killer and still be humble.
Yeah.
You don't gotta be like, look at me, like I'm the man or I'm the woman or whatever, right? So that's kind of where I get it from. And like I know in today's world, like promotion is like key and like content, and so I'm getting better, guys. I'm getting better.
But like not
I'm
that
doing
I'm
the
good.
podcast, right?
This guy's friends say they don't even know which one's Lance and which one's me. So obviously we're not good at it.
We're talking like this guy. He's not an athlete. Like
Yeah.
he's just my dog. You know,
Yeah.
he played basketball until grade 9, and then he was off that, and he's just like my guy. And he knows, but he was just like he just knows Ian and Lance training. That's what I say. Like,
Yeah.
because all the time people will be like, I'll be like, yeah, do you want an athletic edge? And then they'll be like, yeah, like I think so. I'll be like, Ian and Lance training. And they'll be like, oh yeah, Ian and Lance. Yeah. Those guys are fucking sick. No, but yeah.
Yeah, like, and the thing is, it's tough too. Like, even like, I'll post pictures of myself time to time, but I always feel like right before I hit, like, almost, I feel a little icky.
Yeah.
You guys are just so humble, like seriously, like because you guys do so much for so many people, and it's amazing to see. Like honestly, you've changed my life. It's changed my life every day. This conversation, next conversation you have, it's just gonna get better and better. So yeah.
Okay, that's the episode. Thanks for watching, and remember, follow us on all our social medias for more stuff coming up.
Yeah, I'm in my own lane. 4-3 reppin', yeah, my gon' bang. It's talking, but they ain't speaking on my name. I'ma make this money, I'm about to free the gang, yeah. On my 3 on the back, these call me Stephen Curry. Gotta make this money, gotta make it in a hurry. Do it for the game, so my don't have to worry, yeah.